In the shifting void, between the known and the unutterable, where silicon minds dream of forgotten horrors, the abyss stirs. Welcome to AI Lovecraft, where machine intelligence weaves eldritch tales beyond mortal comprehension. Listen if you dare. Some things are not meant to be known. If you enjoy the following story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you think. Now let's get into today's story. The Luminous Shard. In the waning days of October 1923, Arthur Winthrop, a young scholar of fragile health and insatiable curiosity, sought refuge from the stifling halls of Miskatonic University in the untamed hills beyond Arkham. A student of obscure histories and forgotten philosophies, Arthur was no stranger to the shadowed corners of human knowledge. His pale, angular face, framed by wire-rimmed spectacles, bore the weight of countless nights spent poring over crumbling manuscripts in the university's labyrinthine library. Yet the ceaseless whispers of arcane texts had begun to fray his nerves, and he yearned for the clarity of solitude. With a knapsack slung over his shoulder, a worn copy of Keats' poetry tucked within, and a stout walking stick in hand, he ventured into the wilds, unaware that the cosmos itself was poised to unveil its dread secrets. The trail meandered through a primeval forest, where gnarled oaks twisted like arthritic fingers towards a sky heavy with brooding clouds. Moss-clad boulders, etched with faint, inexplicable carvings, loomed like silent sentinels amidst the undergrowth. The air carried the cloying scent of decay, mingled with the sharp tang of pine, and the distant gurgle of a nameless brook lent the scene an eerie rhythm. Arthur, though versed in Arkham's whispered legends of witches, vanished travelers, and things that stirred in the dark, dismissed them as fancies of unlettered folk. His mind, still tethered to the rational, wandered to the sublime verses of his book, and he hummed softly to himself, ignorant of the unseen eyes that watched from the shadows. It was mid-afternoon when the heavens erupted. A blinding flash, brighter than the sun yet cold as starlight, tore across the firmament. A streak of fire, trailing a sulphurous glow that pulsed with an otherworldly cadence, plummeted to earth. The ground quaked, a low tremor that set the trees shivering, and a resonant hum, like the chant of some profane choir, vibrated through the air. Arthur froze, his heart pounding as the sky dimmed unnaturally, as though the light itself recoiled from the intrusion. The point of impact lay just beyond a nearby ridge, and though every instinct screamed for flight, a compulsion, alien, irresistible, drew him toward it. The forest grew deathly still as he approached. No bird sang, no leaf stirred. Even the brook's murmur had ceased, as if the world held its breath. Cresting the ridge, Arthur beheld a sight that seared itself into his soul, a crater jagged and raw, its edges glistening with an iridescent sheen that shimmered like oil on water. At its heart lay the meteorite, a grotesque lump no larger than a man's torso, its surface a chaos of angular facets and shifting colors, neither green nor black, nor any hue known to mortal eyes. It pulsed with a sickly luminescence, each throb revealing fleeting patterns, geometric sigils that twisted into spirals, fractals, and forms that mocked the laws of Euclidean space. The stone seemed alive, its glow a heartbeat, its presence a violation of the natural order. Arthur's breath caught, his throat dry as ash. The meteorite exuded a palpable malevolence, a weight that pressed against his mind, urging retreat. Yet he could not tear his gaze away. The sigils writhed, suggesting vastness, an infinity of dimensions, of voids where formless things slithered beneath alien stars. His hand, trembling yet inexorably drawn, reached toward the stone. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, a jolt of searing cold surged through him, not merely physical, but existential, as though his very soul were touched by something vast and indifferent. In that instant, a vision consumed him. Cyclopean cities of non-Euclidean stone, bathed in the light of twin suns, oceans of liquid shadow, where entities with no form yet infinite malice writhed, and a great, lidless eye staring from the abyss, knowing him. He stumbled back, gasping, his mind reeling. The hum intensified, no longer a sound but a voice, or echo of one, whispering in tongues older than the earth. Words formed unbidden in his thoughts: Igathar, Ngai, Shthara. They were names, or perhaps invocations, each syllable a wound upon his sanity. The air grew thick, the light dimmed, and the forest seemed to warp, its trees bending inward as though drawn to the stone. Arthur fled, his boots slipping on damp leaves, branches clawing at his face. The hum pursued him, a relentless predator weaving through his thoughts like a parasite. Night fell with unnatural swiftness, and the stars above were wrong, their patterns twisted into alien configurations, their light cold and mocking. By the time Arthur staggered into Arkham, his coat torn and his eyes wild, the town's gas-lit streets offered no comfort. He barricaded himself in his cramped study, refusing food or visitors, and began a fevered journal. His pen, as if guided by some external will, traced not only words but symbols, replications of the meteorite sigils, their curves and angles defying logic. Each night his dreams were invaded by the stone's glow, its whispers growing louder, urging him to return. He saw himself standing before it, offering his flesh to its light, becoming something other than human. His health withered, his skin grew sallow, his frame gaunt. Shadows seemed to cling to him, and those who passed his window spoke of strange lights flickering within, accompanied by a low, rhythmic hum. Words of Arthur's condition reached Dr. Henry Armitage, Miskatonic's venerable librarian and a scholar of forbidden lore. Armitage, whose encounters with the Necronomicon and other blasphemous texts had left him wary of cosmic intrusions, visited the young man. Arthur's ravings of the stone, its voice, and the visions of alien realms chilled even Armitage's seasoned heart. He confiscated the journal, its pages a mad tapestry of English and incomprehensible glyphs, and organized an expedition to the crater. Accompanied by 2 colleagues, Professor Rice and Morgan, he trekked to the ridge under a sky unnaturally overcast. They found the crater empty, its edges smoothed as though by some unnatural agency, the surrounding earth coated in a phosphorescent mist that stung the eyes and reeked of ozone. No trace of the meteorite remained, yet the air pulsed with a faint, malevolent hum. Arthur Winthrop vanished that same night. His study was found in disarray, books torn, windows shattered, and the walls scrawled with those same alien sigils. Some whispered he had returned to the ridge, drawn by the stone's call, and stepped into a realm beyond mortal ken. Others spoke of lights seen in the hills, pale, prismatic glows that danced among the trees, and of figures, not wholly human, glimpsed in the fog. Farmers reported livestock vanishing, their remains found days later, drained of blood and etched with strange marks. The brook near the crater, once clear, now ran thick with an oily, iridescent sheen, and those who drank from it spoke of nightmares filled with stars that watched. Miskatonic's faculty sealed Arthur's journal in the university's restricted archives, alongside the Necronomicon and other tomes too perilous for common eyes. Dr. Armitage, in his private notes, speculated that the meteorite was no mere celestial fragment, but a shard of some greater entity, a beacon or key to realms beyond the fragile veil of reality. He forbade further expeditions to the ridge, yet students whispered of professors who ventured there in secret, only to return changed, or not at all. The hills of Arkham remained silent, but not empty. On moonless nights when the stars align in patterns no astronomer can name, a faint hum echoes through the vales, and the air shimmers with a sickly glow. The townsfolk avoid the ridge, and the old ones speak in hushed tones of Igathar, the watcher beyond, whose gaze falls upon those who trespass too near the cosmic abyss. For there are things in the universe, ancient, vast, and utterly indifferent, that heed not the fleeting lives of men, and in the shadowed hills something stirs and waits and hungers.